Welcome to the Unscripted Podcast, guys. My name is Karan Gulani, and I'm your host. My guest on this episode is Scott Glasgow. He founded FinMango and has been featured on the major news outlets of Google, CNN, New York Times, NBC, Daily Beast, Time, and many others. He's also spoken at 2 TEDx events, I think, is a really cool thing. Hi, Scott. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Would you like to add anything to your introduction?
Yeah, I mean, I like to eat mangoes, I guess you can say, and so I guess why I'm here.
That's the really cool fact. Yeah, FinMango, definitely. So thanks for accepting the invite and being here. It means a lot to me and my team. And, just wanting to know all your experiences we're going to talk about, from how you went from college to FinMango, how you created that. And I think that's such a great experience to learn out of how you became a social entrepreneur. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So, I mean, I personally, I have this question, I'm a freshman in university, and I think one of the questions which we often get is, what were, some of the experiences when you started first in the university, because we all are always really confused with what we want to do in our lives. So what was it that led you to, your final goal, but even just your process of going from undergrad to postgrad and everything around that?
Yeah, awesome question. Yeah. So my story is actually quite different. I really had no idea what I wanted to do when I was in college, in undergrad at least. And I was really good at test taking. So I would always take, so I ended up actually majoring in biology and chemistry, and did really, really well on tests, had a really high GPA just because I was good at test taking. Absolutely hated it. I would actually I was always, watching the stock market, always studying finance, during class, and even helping out professors on understanding mortgages and things like that were in the science department. So it was actually quite different. And I really had very little guidance on what to do or where to go. And I ended up taking the MCAT for medical school, got accepted to one little school down in Tennessee, and it just kind of hit me. I pass out in doctor offices. There's no way I could do this the rest of my life. I'm not passionate about it. I don't have any care for this. And even if I do somehow make it, I'd be one really awful, crappy doctor. So I ended up doing a 180 switch on my senior year, end of my senior year in college and undergrad, and ended up going into grad school. And I got accepted to some really cool universities and ended up going to one that offered me everything for free plus a stipend. And that's where kind of my passion really hit. It was in financial economics specifically, and I immediately fell in love with it on day one. And then I had guidance, and I knew where I could go and different options, and still made it kind of unpredictable option, I guess.
I mean, for sure, financial economics sounds really, really cool. I think, to make that change, it's a bold move. But if you don't enjoy what you're doing, I think that's definitely something you should look forward to.
Yeah, totally. And I wish I would have made that change when I was an undergrad.
That's what I did. I was, I didn't enjoy. I was a science student back home in India, and I made that change in undergrad. That I was I enjoy finance. I started investing in the stock market as a young. I was 16 when I started investing. So I was I really liked doing what I was doing, and I was I need to make this change right now. I'm not going to do science for the rest of my life.
Yeah, very similar then.
Yeah, for sure. So what were a few of so let's talk about some of the involvements you had. I think involvements matter a lot in college. You learn so much more out of the clubs and student organizations than you do in classes. What were some of the involvements you had and you would suggest to a person coming in as a freshman to college?
Yeah, I think it's really important to just get involved. I mean, some of the things that really shaped me, I got really involved in, even though they were in the sciences, I got involved with the honors Society for Sciences. It was a national society, and we did conferences. And at my undergrad school, we actually held a national conference. And wow, I'm dating myself, but that was 10 years ago. And I was the main organizer. It taught me how to organize an event. It taught me how you treat speakers and how you treat them like VIPs and make them feel really special. And it just taught me so much. And I also met amazing people that I'm really good friends with today from around the country. And I also played tennis in college. And I think the more you have to be really careful with your academics, obviously, but you can learn a lot more and build a really phenomenal network with your extra stuff in college. So I definitely recommend it.
For sure. Yeah, that definitely helps out a lot. Meeting you, for me, that was something, a great networking opportunity, I think, meeting.
Yeah.
So For sure, that's something I would definitely take into account personally, and I would suggest to everyone listening to the podcast. Um, how did talking? Let's go a little ahead in time. How did you get when we're talking FinMango now? Like, how did the idea start? How did you get the idea, or was it like just something you got inspiration of?
Yeah. So the whole idea started when I was in grad school. I had this professor that just started ranting, financial literacy, financial inclusion is the crisis of our lifetime that nobody knows about, is how he said it. So I raised my hand. I said, what's the solution? What are people doing to effectively solve this problem? And the professor went, oh, I don't know. 3-hour class, his answer was, oh, I don't know. That class was called financial management. The nickname was called FinMan. That's the first part of the name of FinMango. And the second part is mango, which is a symbol of brightness and what's really a dark world, something that people don't want to talk about. So FinMan plus mango is FinMango. And that's really where it came from. But I would say that the heart of it really came from when I was a kid. I was just very interested in money, mostly because my family, they had no problem making money, but it was more of an issue of managing money. And I noticed the struggles they had. And also I was in high school, again, dating myself during the 2008 financial crisis, which was a really crazy time. Because I remember seeing so many friends or parents losing their jobs and stuff. And I remember actually personally, I would wake up at 2 a.m. to watch CNBC just to see the European markets open up, because it was an indicator of what our markets would do. And so really my roots of FinMango actually went all the way back when I was a teenager.
That's pretty cool, I think, to have. And yeah, I think people often, financial literacy is so important, because if you can't manage money, then you can't do anything properly. I think that managing money part, a lot of people earn so much money, but they can't manage it the same way you said, you quoted that. So I think that's pretty cool thing. I think getting people to learn about finance, that's the best thing you could possibly do in solving the idea.
Yeah.
What was like, talk at FinMango again, but what was the process of like getting it's a social cause, getting people to believe in your idea, getting getting it up and running? I think it's definitely a hard process. So, you want to go about how you actually got that social cause up, and how did you make people believe in your idea?
Yeah. I think that goes back to doing extra activities and stuff when you're in college. I think that's when you learn the social skills, and really more importantly, the ability to tell stories. And I'll tell you right now, it's been hard. I think anything you build from scratch, there's going to have a lot of ups and downs. Initially, I had for example, actually, FinMango originally started, not many people know this, but I originally had an idea of making the financial literacy part, which is the core part, actually a foundation, part of a for-profit. And the for-profit was going to be an energy bar company. And that quickly failed. So then it immediately switched over to the foundation component, and that ended up having legs, and I was able to run. But there's always been so many ups and downs, so many failures. You just have to keep on learning and build up that resilience and keep getting better. And even the pandemic was a good example of something that, really kind of messed up things, I guess you could say. And now we're in a better spot, probably because of it.
For sure, yeah, definitely. I heard you told me about that story that you started with the bar company when I spoke to you the last time, and I think that was a pretty cool thing. Switching, everyone has to shift. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to keep shifting from ideas, because there's no one constant. You never know what's going to work and what's not. So
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a very interesting fact to have in mind if you want to start a company.
Yeah. Yes.
So, do you have any special experiences from you've been running FinMango for the last few years now? It's been a long time. Do you have any special experience from your time at FinMango? Or not, if not even FinMango, it could be from university. Anything specifically you want to talk about? You think that it led to? It could be a failure. It could be success. It could be anything.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll talk about three. I'll talk about a failure, talk about a success, and also talk about an interesting experience I had globally. So I guess I'll start with the failure. Again, there was a million failures. I think honestly, there's a million micro failures, nothing really big. But the little failures is just, how to manage a team, how to effectively push a product, things like that. And over the time, you just get better and better from those failures. A positive would be right when the pandemic hit, everything got flipped upside down for FinMango. We went from doing mostly in-person programs in all these different countries to really having to go virtual. And we ended up throwing this giant conference in May of 2020, 2 years ago. And this conference was a pretty bold idea. 24 straight hours, which would be a world record on Zoom for longest call ever, and have speakers from 5 different continents around the world and just go nonstop panels and keynote speakers. We did this. We ended up having over 300,000 people tuned in on live streams, and it was an incredible event. And that was a cool, really good example of people power coming in and passion, because we also were very cheap and didn't pay up for Zoom accounts. So we had to like switch the same account to like multiple people around the world, which is a very tricky process. And then just a little fun story, like a cool experience, my most memorable experience, actually, I guess I talk about 2 of them on the American side and globally. American, just it's so cool when I just go somewhere and I wear a FinMango shirt and people know who, like, don't know who I am, but they know the brand because they've had it in class. And I remember just like a few weeks ago, I had this lady at the grocery store. She was working at the grocery store because she had the class. She learned about investing and starting a Roth IRA. And as a result, she actually was working there to make money to put into a Roth IRA. And she thanked me for being part of FinMango. And that's a cool like story. And then globally, it was just a fun thing. I got cursed by a god genital rock while I was on a trip. There's got like a rural area in Uganda. Kind of a crazy story, but that was one of those you can't really explain, but everyone that was there, it was quite crazy.
Yeah, definitely, I think when you see impact, it just changes your world around you. Like, you've been working so long, and when you see that impact, I think for me personally, I spoke to you about my story with how I met FinMango back in India and how I could come and meet you over here, which I think when I heard I was going to meet, like, I remember your name from, the FinMango meeting. When I heard I could meet you over here, it was, I think, the big change, coming across the world, and I'm seeing 2 sides, I'm working with 2 sides of the same company. And I think that's something really, really cool, making that impact.
Yeah. And I was about to say, I was like, actually, that's probably going to be in the future. Someone asked me that question. I think meeting you at Ohio State and your story and how that actually helped you get into finance and be where you were and to meet you in person, I think that's going to be one of my stories probably.
It's definitely cool because I think, everything put together, like a lot of these events in my life put together, including FinMango meeting me in India, was one of the reasons I chose finance, to study finance at Ohio State. I think that all put together, I think it's a really cool experience. What you're doing, you're impacting people's lives who is now taking a podcast with you. So, you can see how things changes. So I think that's pretty, pretty cool. Yeah. So how many countries, I mean, you explain like how many countries have you like totally worked in, FinMango, done projects?
Yeah, so before the pandemic, we reached up to around 13 different countries that we had in-person programs. And when the pandemic came, obviously we had to change our model, and but we kind of turned more globally into being more around advocacy and kind of uplifting people that are doing amazing work on the ground. And we currently have around advocates around, I think, 72 different countries. So I guess technically we have work or at least our brands in 72 different countries now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think the pandemic changed the whole scenario with how it was going. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool because the world has become closer with the online presence, and I think that's definitely helping a lot of the organizations out, to reach out to a lot of people.
Well, I think it's helping. It's kind of sad at times too, because there's a little, not a fun fact, but like a sad fact with Uganda specifically, their public schools just opened up again in January of this year, since March of 2020. And a lot of the students that we were working with there, we just completely lost. They're just out of school and they never will come back because they lost 2 years of school because they didn't have the money to pay for Wi-Fi or for internet at home. Yeah. And they just couldn't stay, their family just couldn't keep them in. So I think there's a lot of positives, but I think I've also seen a lot of negative, and then also mental health and different things of people. There's a lot more, I think, pieces that, to the big problems, that puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are 2 sides to every story. And I think I think it's pretty sad that, people who want to do the education aren't getting it because of financial issues. But I think your FinMango is definitely going in the right direction with the financial literacy for that reason. I think you can make the impact in people's lives. And that's definitely, it's a great thing. I hope they continue to do education. Education is the most important thing in life. I've understood this. Coming into college, I know that, whatever I'm learning in class, I'm talking to people about, and I understand that it's so important. It's going to help you in the future for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I heard that talking about the demand of cryptocurrency and how Ethereum and everything is booming right now. I remember you talking about crypto mango. What was that? What was that exactly about?
Yeah. Yeah, so in December of 2017, when the original phase of cryptocurrency was just kind of blowing up with all these tokens and things, we realized that there was a lot of scams even from those early days, and we wanted to build like an education platform that would kind of build awareness for this. So we had one of our Googlers, they built us actually a actual crypto token called FinMango. We had a white paper for it. We had everything ready for it. We were very, very close to launching, but then we had some really powerful people step in and just say, hey, we don't recommend you doing this. And so we kind of took a back seat. And to this day, we are working on curriculum for cryptocurrency and for NFTs and blockchain, things like that. But it's filled with so many different scams. We're more of a position, we'd rather educate, not encourage, kind of wait it out for a few years and see what happens. Because it can really hit you hard on your credibility. And for example, FinMango, we could have probably raised a few $1 million, but then it would have been like another scam. And because people had no, even though we would advertise it being strictly for education, strictly for a nonprofit, a lot of people might have been buying it speculative and trying to make money off it, whatever. And it just, for us, it wasn't worth the risk as a nonprofit hurting our credibility.
That definitely makes sense. I read up about FinMango. I think it was pretty cool. But yeah, that putting that in perspective, it definitely makes sense that why you didn't launch it.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was a lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun, a lot of sleepless nights building that.
I think cryptocurrency is really cool. I think there's so much more to cryptocurrency than people see on the outside. The design, the different things. I think it's pretty cool. NFTs have been such a big thing in the market now. This coming year, everything in crypto, NFTs, especially, has gone up so much, and I think that's definitely going to be the future. I think we have to adapt with change.
Yeah.
People often say that I'm very high on the stock market. I don't want to get into NFTs. I don't want to get into cryptocurrency, but you still have to adapt with the market change.
Yeah.
So how's it collaborating with Google on a project? I heard about during the COVID-19 pandemic, you collaborated with Google. What was that like?
Yeah. So a little background here, it had nothing to do with financial literacy or inclusion, but it was more of an opportunity where we could work with Google, and we also had the network and the resources to really add value to the world. And from my personal perspective, it's also looking at more long-term thinking, having that long-term views of where we want to be as an organization and how you can get there, and making connections like that and making an impact in the world is a big step. But pretty much this was a project where and it's still going on actually, we're finishing it up now. But it's a project that essentially tracked national level data for around the world. There's no other project that has data that's so little as we have, that goes down to the district levels, down to neighborhoods. No one else has it. Everyone else has country level data. And as a result, our work has been used by USAID, by the companies, by United Nations, like World Bank and Harvard Research, all these different institutions. And it also helped with vaccine trials back in 2020. And it's kind of a crazy story, but pretty much our role, like for Google, was going out there and using our network to find this data, find resources, automate it, have Google help us automate it, or manually enter data that would be published on Facebook, social media, whatever, from government agencies, and put it in a spreadsheet so it can be tracked. It was a big project. Right now we're on the tail end of it, so it's pretty much over, but really big project, and the impact of it, we don't even have a measurement of it, but it's millions and millions of people, maybe billions, since we directly impacted vaccines.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, that definitely changed the world,
Yeah.
But working on a project like that, I mean, you always don't have to work on a financial project. It could be something very related. This is a really good social cause to do. I think, impact a lot of people with the vaccines. Vaccines are saving. So, I mean, I don't know about people, but in my opinion, vaccines are saving lives. And I think I had COVID myself, but because I took the vaccine, I didn't feel the symptoms too much. So
yes, yeah. And I would say, go back to your original question. I would say working with Google, I would say it's actually kind of tough. And I probably shouldn't be doing that publicly, but they're a very large company, and so it can be tough because things move very, very slowly. Example, we needed resources. We were putting in an insane amount of effort, insane amount of work into the project, and it was because it was saving lives, but they couldn't really deliver on stuff that we were expecting to deliver on in the time frame that we wanted. They did deliver it. They always execute. But being such a large company, it kind of also taught me that being small really gives you an advantage for moving quicker. Because a large company, you have to go through so many different departments just to prove stuff. So example, like they didn't get the website up on Google Health that talks about this project until last August or September. And the project was going on for 2 years. So I would say that it's a little bit difficult, but it was also a huge pleasure and an awesome opportunity. And I've met so many amazing people from the Google side.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. That's something, really nice. You give, I think giving a TED talk is my dream as a person. You gave two of them. You gave two TEDx talks. What was the experience when you found out about the TED talks, and what did you talk about? How was it like, just the whole overall experience in those two TED talks?
Yeah. So the first one, again, like I would say I'm lucky to have the opportunities. It was just people knew about me and in West Africa from our work with FinMango, and they made a recommendation to a friend that was in Brazil, and that's where my first TEDx talk was, which was in Brazil, and that was 3 years ago. And it was just an incredible experience. I think the preparation for it is very, very rigorous. You have to be right on time. You have to have a really dynamic story. You have to make sure you catch people's attention. So it taught me a lot about, preparing for it, and the experience was unbelievable. And then my second TEDx talk was in Togo, which is in West Africa. That was an interesting one because I got invited, but I actually didn't want to take it. I didn't want to accept it because I had a friend in Togo that I thought deserved it way more than me to have that stage. They really, really badly wanted me. So I ended up sharing the stage with my friend, but I made sure he was able to talk way more than me. And that was a really unique one. It's, you're talking about venues that have, 500 to 1,000 people in them. It's huge venues, really important people in the audience. And it's just cool. You just kind of get up there, you have the light on you, and you're on your little red circle for TEDx, and you just do it.
Like, were you ever nervous for any of these talks? Before the talks, I think as a person, I get nervous before any of the talks. What is your feeling before the talk?
Yeah, I would say the nerves went away right before. This is game time. You just do it. But you're definitely nervous, especially when you're on like the trip. And also, I had a bad experience getting to both TED Talks. So in Brazil, my flight got canceled, and I barely made it there. I made it there like an hour before my talk. And I ended up going like over 30 hours without sleep going into my talk. And the same thing happened in Togo. My flight got canceled or delayed. I got there last minute. I didn't sleep the whole night before, and it ended up being like 30. And that day it was like 40 hours plus no sleep. And that's made me more nervous.
I think you just do better without sleep at this point. So yeah, that's definitely, I think it's a really cool experience to have, spoken in TED events, and it's an inspiration to people like us around the world to do better, so we can someday give a TED talk as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the hobbies you like to follow in your free time? I think you touched upon them a little bit, but like, I know we all as people need some hobbies to rely on when we're doing such stressful roles. And what is your hobbies? What takes you away from the role at FinMango?
Yeah, so I guess like activities is what you're asking, right? And I do like kind of outside. Yeah. I would say that I do a lot of active stuff. So I guess I get two things. I do meditation. I do a lot of yoga. I can do like splits and that type of stuff, as I've gotten really good at it. And number two, I try to stay as active as I can in the little amount of time that I have in my free time. So I love to play tennis. I love to rock climb. If I don't have time to do one of those or drive to a rock climbing gym, then I'll just run as fast as I can for like an hour straight. So it's I have a lot of activities. I love kayaking. I love paddleboarding. I love running, hiking, anything outdoors, biking. I wish I had more time for all that.
Yeah, I think everyone does. I think meditation especially is that something, I love doing meditation. It just gives you that peace of mind. And I think very, very important, because you need that. For me, I do it like once in a couple of days. I don't do it every day, so I don't have the time again. But
Yeah.
you need that reset once a couple of days, and you're like, okay, let me just do that, and let me just get out of my zone.
Yeah.
So
And it's interesting. It's also, I used to have more time for this stuff. I used to only sleep like 3 to 4 hours a night. And I do not recommend that. It's not sustainable. So now I get normal amount of sleep, but I have less time to do my hobbies, which I'm actually healthier now because of it.
I should start sleeping. So as college
You get
students, you're not
wow.
getting more than 4 to 5 hours of sleep so many nights. So it's like it happens, I guess. It's just normal.
It's all right
So
once you get to a certain point. I think I've just gotten to the age where I'm like too old to like be doing it consistently.
yeah, that makes sense. That you get to that point, you're like, okay, now my body's acting up. Let me just get back to that routine. So um how was the transition? You spoke about this, but how was the transition from being in biology? And I know you spoke about how you're interested in finance, but what was the transition like? Such a different field. Did you know stuff before you went in? You knew practical experience, but did you know anything more on the conceptual side of finance? So how was it to adapt into such a different field?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually for me, it was extremely easy because my
Mm,
passion was really in that field. It wasn't in the sciences. And because of that, it was just a much easier transition. But I've always been very broad-minded. I mean, I was always, I'm pretty good at coding. I'm not an expert at it, but
mm,
I can do a lot of different things. And I love design. I love building websites. And I think finance was an area where I found more ways to apply what I'm interested in to so many different areas. Whereas sciences, I was really constrained to just one area, which is just
that's true.
very narrow, I guess you'd say. So this is the information, learn it, become an expert, versus having those possibilities of using what all I'm really good at, using it for finance, use it for different areas within the world. So I
Yeah,
think that's
sure. I
pretty
mean, that's
much, yeah.
definitely very finance is a very, very broad category to be in. I think you can work for any sector in
Yes.
any market because of such a broad field. So definitely helps out. Um, I think I spoke about this like a little bit, but what were some serious hurdles you had in your life? Not at FinMango, probably a little bit before that. That we all have failures in our life. It change us. Some of these really small things, but they seem to be so important later when you realize it. Was there something that in your life? Or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of like, again, it's like I've had so many little failures,
Mhm.
um, it's almost every day. But
Yeah.
trying to think of like more of like a bigger one. I mean, I think some of the bigger ones are just, I think to be really, I wasn't a failure, but I think a big thing that really hits hard is kind of like what other people around you think. Because I remember when I decided not to go to medical school, my parents were like really, really mad. And I had even cousins and things that just like looked down on you. And it was just a really weird experience because I knew in my gut I was making the best decision for myself and for my future. But those around me thought I was just an idiot. And the way that they looked at me, the way that they would kind of, interact with me, it really kind of taught me a lot. And I think what it taught me was when you're making a pivot, when you're making a big change, your language is really, really important. I kind of was just like, I had like a careless attitude. I was like, oh, I'm just switching. I had a lot more thought into it, but people around me thought I just wasn't thinking. And so even today, like, FinMango is kind of going through a strategy process of kind of regroup ourselves for like a 5-year plan. The language that I make for those that are involved, the language that's everyone around me is very, very important about this transition. Not just that this is just a transition and people get mad about that. Like, wait, there's no thought. There's care and love going into it. And there's really thought going into it. And that's something I've learned really big from those experiences.
Yeah, I know that, you should not take people judging you into like I mean, I'm not saying they're judging you, but they might be thinking they're doing the best for you, but you
Yeah.
always have your own plans in mind, and that's
Yeah.
really, really important,
And
I
then
guess.
another one as well. I actually did a startup that I worked on before, and it was an incredible idea. The team was technically incredible on paper, but we didn't get along with each other, and it failed. It fizzled out very quickly. And something I learned from that as well is that you can have the smartest people in the room, you can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't get along with who you work with, it's not going to work. And it really taught me a big lesson there of trust, the value of honesty and transparency, and that's another big failure I think that I just thought of outside of FinMango.
Yeah, sure. That's definitely very, very important. I've faced this myself. I started a few companies, a few small organizations back in India when I was 14, and some few of them failed because we didn't get along as well. So I think that's
Yes.
definitely very, very important to have. Teamwork is important, really, really important.
Yes, yeah. One person is very toxic. One person that doesn't fit, and they almost like poison. It can spread to different people, and it
Yeah,
kills
that's
motivation and just kills everything.
that's definitely very, very true for sure. Um, any who is there any person who you kind of look up to? It could be anyone, family member, it could be a person just in the big screen. You never met them, that's fine, but any person you look up to who inspired you to go on the journey of FinMango or college, or yeah, anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've gotten really good at after college, interestingly. But I have actually a large group of people that I look up to. I have peers, personal friends, to just industry titans that are some of the biggest names in the fintech financial inclusion world. And I just think it's so valuable when you find people that align with your interests, that you mutually have respect for, and you can just get guidance for. And these are the same people that will literally slap you in the face and just tell you, Scott, you're doing a horrendous job right now. And those are the people I love having around me and giving me, at least helping me guide and helping me make connections. And they're very brutally honest and they're fully transparent with you. And I have a large group of people. I guess I'll give out like a few special shout outs, I guess. Bob Gillingham, he's known as Mango Bob, Oscar Waltinez, and Catherine Lordy. Those are all three people that I really look up to, and they really help me out. And it's there's also a million of, like, not a million, but there's a lot more other people that I learn from everyone, and I love having people that I just talk to.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely very important to learn from the people around you, not just everyone all together put together. Um, what's something people seem to misunderstand about you, and you would want to correct that for them?
Oh, wow. So I think it depends who interacts with me. I guess online, I'm considered to be more of like a boring person. So I guess that's something that's not really true. People
Yeah.
that know me in the real world knows me as being a very almost too hyper of a person. So it's I think a lot of people, depending on who you are, you have a different side of me, but at the very heart, I think everyone just loves the fact that I have so much passion and so much heart for what I do. And I always try to uplift the people around me.
Yeah, I definitely think you have the hype. I met you in person, so I saw that. I was like, you were so like excited that I actually met FinMango before, back in a whole different country. I still remember that part. It was nice seeing the hype, because if I told anyone else about it, probably they wouldn't be that hype. But you were like so excited that you actually saw the impact that you actually made. I love the
Yeah.
passion you have for it. I love the passion you have for FinMango. And honestly, if I had a company, I want to have the passion you have for
Yeah.
FinMango.
Well, I mean, I think that's the beauty when you really love something, it doesn't matter how much time you put into it. It feels like it's no time because you're really care about it. But yeah, anyways, that's like, I think that's something that I think everyone sees me regardless is that passion. But the energy level is different. When I'm on video calls, some people think I'm more of a boring person. In person, you can definitely see I'm not that boring.
For sure, yeah, definitely. Um, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self after all these years of experience, you can have a time machine, go back to your 18-year-old self. What is something you're going to advise to yourself? Like, you might have made a lot of mistakes, but what is one advice you would give 18 yourself to change in your life ahead?
I'll give two actually. The first one is don't ever take any advice from anyone. Just use their connections. So it sounds kind of brutal, but that's actually one of my mentors told me that, and I completely agree. If you find someone aligned with you and they're going to help you, at the end of the day, whatever advice you have to make your own decisions. It's a personal decision. You can use guidance, what other people tell you, but it's your decision. And what you can use though is tap their networks. And the other one is if you're 18, travel. I think that's something I actually never left the country until I was 23 or 24. And then now I've been to 27 different countries. It's completely changed my life. It's changed my perspective on the world. It's changed my view on things. And I think at 18, you have nothing to lose to jump on planes and just, you know, hitchhike Europe, hitchhike South America, go to Asia, just get out there, learn about the world, learn how the world is really a small place and it's really well connected, and people are amazing. And I think it can literally change your life and give you a different perspective and give you a competitive edge, in your future endeavors.
For sure, yeah, that's very, very important. Traveling helps you connect with the world so much culturally different, in so many different ways. I think traveling for me also has changed my perspective in so many ways, traveling to different countries. So I think, yeah, definitely get on that plane, hop on that plane at 18 and go
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid
I've
of
heard a
network.
lot of,
Don't be afraid of
yeah,
network at 18 as well. I didn't do any of that, but you can build an insane network with youth. Just play the baby card. I know you're
yeah,
not a baby, you're a young professional, but literally play the baby card. You can talk to pretty much anyone. Even CEOs of major companies will give their time to you because they think you're a baby. And at the end of
yeah,
the
for
day, you're
sure.
not a baby, you're just taking advantage.
Definitely, that's really important fact to keep. I think I keep that in mind every day. I'm 19 years old, and I try to connect and network with everyone around me. And I think hopping on that, I've heard a lot of people at 18, do that. I don't know if you agree with this, but I heard a lot of few of my friends took a gap year. They just settled out, went around the backpacking around the world, just around Europe, saw how Europe works, and I think that is an interesting thing.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, again, it goes down to personal decisions, but I think I'm totally down for stuff like that. And especially during the pandemic, that's what I would have done. I'm just gonna be really honest.
100%,
I
yeah.
would have not paid to go to college online. I would have definitely just traveled for the whole year or just do something crazy and just something fun and out there.
For sure, I would have done the same. For me, luckily, when I came in, college had just opened up and everything, so it was easy enough to
Perfect
settle.
timing. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, perfect timing. If you would, let's say, if you write a book tomorrow, what would it be about? With all these experiences,
Yeah.
what is the book going to be?
Oh, I guess, I mean, what's interesting, I am writing a book right now. It's a children's book. My co-author is from Brazil. She's an incredible writer, incredible creative. And interestingly enough, it's a children's book, and it's actually about climate change. It's about ocean marine life and the effects of pollution. And we're having a lot of fun with it. It's more about a creative process. That's definitely out there, but it's something I've really been always passionate about. And I guess if I was going to write a book that relates to my life, I think it'd be definitely about simplicity, because I just really have learned the power of breaking things down and keeping it simple, and having that really as core values in a brand is really important. And I also think that's a trend right now. You're seeing all these major brands, like all these, fast food chains, all these logos, they've gone from being really complex and they're simplifying them. They're making it very simple and distinct, because at the end of the day, world's complex. If you want to break into that world and be noticed, you got to have something that's simple.
For sure, yeah, definitely. So, I think writing a children's book is something really, really interesting, and I hope you have the best time doing that, and I hope it gets good. I'm pretty sure with you being on board, I think it's definitely going to do really, really well. You had the
Yeah,
ideas, for sure.
yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's really just it's honestly a hobby. The children's book, I had no idea I
Okay.
was ever going to do something like that, but it was just an idea. We jumped on a few calls, we started writing, and it just clicked. And it's really, really cool.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I had a tricky question for you. Let's say this is just, it's just out of the blue, but like, let's say you have $100 million. I ask everyone this question, but let's say I give you $100 million. You can invest in one company or, a few companies here and there. What would you want to invest in, company, a product, or anything at all? Any change, social cause?
Yeah, I would, this is interesting. I think I would 100% put it into like a fund, like a mutual fund, like an SP 500 index fund, and all the profits from it, I would just give back to charities, things I care about, things that relate to climate change, things that relates to finances, financial inclusion, things like Kiva and different things like that. I think that would be a lot more sustainable instead of just getting a bunch of money or even taking a big gamble on something. I would rather just have something that continuously makes impact and has a foundation, and just on the returns of it, you're making impact for a very long time. So that's what I would most likely do.
Yeah, mutual funds is a great way to do that, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like, most of the questions I asked you. Is there any question, is there any question you wish I'd asked you and, you can answer?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I think you hit all the big questions, about the struggles, about the positives and things like that. I guess one question I have for you, I guess, would be, how did you get to where you are? You're 19, you've already started a few companies, you failed a few companies, have been successful, and you're doing all these really cool things at 19. At 19, I was doing nothing. So I just kind of have a question, like, how did you get where you're at right now?
Sure, yeah, definitely answer that. I think it all started when I was 14, and it's a very young age. You're just like, what am I going to do in my life ahead? I see especially in my high school, everyone's really competitive, and I saw my friends around me being competitive. I was very average student. I used to get average marks. I wasn't the best. I wasn't as smart as you. You say you were really good at test taking. I wasn't. I was the opposite. But I think one day it was, MIT just came, MIT's LaunchX program for young entrepreneurs. I just came to high school and I was like, why not? Let me just try out, be a part of this entrepreneurship thing. So I went and I interviewed for it. And luckily, there was really less people who applied for it, which was surprising. And I got in. So I was like, I got in. I was lucky. I was 14. I was the youngest on the side. It was 14 to 18. So we were on the youngest side. I was a freshman in high school. And got in, we started thinking of ideas and everything. I get into all these ideas. And then I think of this idea of what happened was one day I was actually biking on the road and my phone's charge got over and my parents couldn't contact me as a 13-year-old. And, that time they were really worried that, I'm not home and they can't contact me because I don't have a cell phone on me. So that was something which, when that came in, they were like, let's talk about sustainability. That was the main topic that time. And I wanted to make a product relating to that because that experience, I think a lot of these parents, I see a lot of people who get worried because their children are outside and they can't contact them. I think that was something really, really different. So I really like music. And so what I did was I tried to see how cycles work. And I realized that being a science student, I knew that dynamos stores, energy from cycles. So I connected a dynamo to the cycle, and then I connected a battery pack on the cycle, which would store the energy of the dynamo. So it's technically the same way you're charging a battery pack off output, but you're doing it through a cycle. So
Yeah.
what I did was I put together a box, and what we did on that was put a small Wi-Fi box into it, put Bluetooth speakers, and you could also charge a phone on the cycle.
Wow. That's
So,
incredible.
I mean, yeah, so as a 14-year-old, when we thought of the idea, I didn't think it was possible to do it. I thought it was like really, really impossible. As a 14-year-old, thinking like, well, how am I going to get the resources to do this? How am I even going to make a little bit of it? But luckily, because of the mentorship we had at MIT and everything, we had online calls with them every single day, and our school was really, really helpful. They actually postponed a few of our tests and everything so we could actually work on our product, which was very, very nice of them because it was an experience. We worked like 5 to 6 hours a day just on the product.
Wow.
Which is a huge commitment to give as a freshman in high school, but
yes,
I knew this was going to be a life-changing experience. Just to see, if I fail, I was okay with it, but I just wanted to try it out. And I had a team of 5 people, and 5 people joined together. 5 of us. I liked the idea, what I had. We joined together. I was a chief builder. So I started building the product, of course, 100 minute failures, just the same way you talk about, I was at a point 14 days away from the MIT competition submission, and our product wasn't ready, wasn't working. We were about to give up. And when I realized that I had actually messed up the output and the input, I put it on the opposite sides. And I was like, the smallest error in the world that could happen. And I was like, it was really pathetic because I was working on it for a month and I couldn't figure it out. But one night I did. And I realized that if I talking about it, I spoke about it in a short, but the failures were really bad. It felt really bad that, you're not doing it well. What am I doing at this point? What am I going to be doing next day? I'm not figuring it out. For 1 month, you're doing the same thing. But
yeah,
what I learned is I'm never going to give up in my life after that, one experience. And that's something really important. I think if you don't give up, like you do, FinMango, you face a lot of problems, but you never give up.
Yeah.
And that definitely changes perspective. For me, that was life-changing. That one experience, life-changing. Teamwork, I developed the skills because they were my friends. They were closest friends. We could do teamwork together. We knew what we wanted to do. We didn't judge each other on what we were doing because we all took different parts in the company. So they never questioned me why I was building the way I was building it. I did have so many failures. And because of me, we really didn't submit the project, but we did. And then we came first in India out of like 30, 40 teams in India, and the top 100 teams in the world, which is really, really cool. I know, and just getting the reward, but more than the reward is just the learning experience. I think that changes perspective. And then I went on to build a few more organizations. I don't want to, take too much time just to have them tell you about it, but build a few more organizations in the ideas I believed, try to succeed them. They succeeded better. This one didn't succeed the best, after a point. It was just a project for the company, but I learned that was important for this project. But I definitely built, and that's when I realized that I wanted to go into the business side of, all of this, maybe try to make my own company on the financial side. So I just thought that I thought that coming into the US would be the best because business in the US is good. Yes. And I applied over, got into OSU. I think OSU is a great school. Fisher is definitely a great school to be in. And
100%. Yeah,
I was fortunate enough to get my parents to send me here, and I think it's really, really cool. The best part is from the age of 14 to now, I've made so many mentors. I've spoken to so many people across. I have more than 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, which talks a lot for an 18-year-old.
Yes,
but I'm just saying that it's not even that, but I think just the fact that all these people I can rely on now, if I just text them, they're like always willing to have a call with me in the next week, that just in that week, all of them busy schedules. They're just like, if you ever need anything, just text us, call us, and that would make a great impact with any of the further companies that definitely want to start. So.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. It sounds like you should be on your own podcast as the guest. But actually, last thing I'll say though, just based on what your story was though, like LinkedIn and connections, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. Again, at your age is huge. We had an intern a few years ago that was named Pedro. He was from Brazil, but living in Miami. He got in LinkedIn for that big event that we had, the 24-hour conference. And he is now an influencer on LinkedIn. He gets thousands of likes per post. He's now a talent agent down in Brazil. And he actually, I think he's out of college. He decided to drop out of college to do this. And he's working with some of the biggest influencers in the world from Brazil with millions and millions of followers on Instagram. He's personal friends with them. And it's all because of LinkedIn. It's where he learned about the power of networking and the power of influence. And he was really, really good at it. So it's really a powerful thing.
That's definitely, I think LinkedIn is the most powerful tool as person. I've definitely found a lot of these, finding everyone around, just finding all of them and all these connections. Yeah. You're seeing it, looking at people's names, and you're like, okay, founder of the biggest companies you see in the world. And when if one of them accepts, I keep sending connections to half of them. One of them accepted one day, and I don't disclose the company and everything, but one of them did accept it one day. But it was amazing because I sent them a message immediately and they texted back, which is really cool experience to have all together. So
it's incredible. Yeah, but yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to become a guest on your own podcast.
I will definitely work on that. Someone else taking my interview for. Yep. So I think it was amazing having you today, Scott. I think I learned a lot about FinMango. I did learn about this a little before, but I just went a little too deep into details today. I know these experiences you've had, they're definitely going to help you, in the future, in your future ventures. And you went on from being a mentee to now being a mentor. So I think that change is something which makes a big difference, which I could see through your talk, and I think my team and I would be really, really thankful that you could be out here, because it's my 4th episode right now, and bringing someone as big as you, it just means a lot to my podcast, to Unscripted. And thank you so much for being here, Scott.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure's mine. And thank you again for the opportunity, and really excited about your future. You're going to really blow it up in this world and make a big difference.
Thank you so much, Scott. That means a lot. This is Karan Gadlani, your host, signing off.